the project I'm going to introduce to the delegates is one in Nigeria. As you know, Nigeria is also touted to be an economic powerhouse over the next 10, 15 years. And the Lagos State Government and the Lagos, what they call the Metro Area Metropolitan Authority, LAMATA, have embarked on an ambitious project to set up a metro system, an urban metro system in Lagos. Again, I don't think I need to tell anyone how legendary the congestion is in Nigeria, and how when one gets there, one realizes the need for an appropriate mass transit system. And we as Price WaterhouseCoopers are actually advising on one particular, well, two lines, but I'll talk about one in particular, which is called the red line. And they all refer to colors of the rainbow. So you've got the red, the blue, the green, the purple, the orange, and they all start in Marina or in VI, and they all span out to different parts of the greater Lagos area. The one I want to discuss is the one that starts from Marina that goes due north up to a place called Agbado, which is about 37 kilometers north in the direction of the airport, and it's got a little spur about a 9-kilometer spur that services the international and the domestic airport. And as you can imagine, one who's driven from the airport to Victoria Island will understand the need to have such a mass transit system, but a metro for that matter. This project is touted to have, it's planned to have 13 stations, and they plan to put a 5-kilometer bridge that traverses one of the lagoons. So it's worth about $2 billion. That's the costing at present. And what we're currently doing right now at Price WaterhouseCoopers is working with the engineers to arrive at a true costing and to try and determine the economics of putting together such an ambitious rail system. As you can imagine, no matter where you are, there's very few rail systems that have actually been implemented, or metro systems that have been implemented of that size anywhere in the world without state or without provincial or national assistance. So we're currently negotiating, and I think the Lagos State Government itself and national, or the federal government, federal authority, has in principle agreed to some kind of guarantee to this project to ensure that it gets off the ground, because they obviously realize the economic benefits of putting such an ambitious project on the ground. The way they've put out this project is by way of concession. So we actually the advisor to the concessionaire, which is a group of businesses, infrastructure banks led by the Infrastructure Bank of Nigeria, which is looking to design, well, not their own design, but looking to secure a consortium that designs, builds, finances, and operates this particular facility. The initial estimates are that it's probably going to carry something like 1.7 million passengers a day, and we're talking end to end. So it's a pretty significant project for Nigeria, and not just that, but in terms of servicing the greater Lagos area. And what they're looking for right now is they're looking for train set providers and various other components of the project that will provide services to it. So, for example, there's a whole planning around the development of the stations. So there's a property development angle to it. Then there's the stations themselves. When you consider the volume and the concentration of people in Nigeria, you can imagine the design of the infrastructure, the rail, etc., has got to cater for that. Then there's what they call the right of way, which is really looking at creating servitudes within Lagos that allows the trains or the track to be laid. They're currently using the railway, I think it's the National Railway Authority or the National Railway Commission, I forget the name. Excuse me if you're from Nigeria. But the idea is to ensure that there are servitudes within Nigeria which this can be serviced in. And what you can imagine in Nigeria, because of the congestion, and some of these servitudes are populated, there's going to be a huge effort to try and not displace people, but to move people to other parts of Lagos to allow a free-flowing train. So it's going to be a massive undertaking. Issues like right of way, shared infrastructure, for example, is going to be a big issue. Some lines traverse each other and they cross each other where you have shared stations and shared infrastructure. So it requires us to talk to the other operators in order to ensure that we put this thing together. Then you've got the issue of stations. the infrastructure, the operators themselves. I think what we're finding is a lot of the developed countries, in a sense, are falling over themselves with all sorts of export guarantee schemes to try and support this venture, because they realize the economics of carrying, a few million people a day on a metro system in a concentrated area. And as a result, the opportunities become very, very compelling. We will be doing two things, I think, for the bankers here, is we will be putting together a project information memorandum. It's almost like a prospectus, really. Once you've determined the quantum of debt and the level of equity that the consortium is looking to pass on to prospective investors to make this whole thing come real. And we've started the work. We should be completed the project information memorandum by the end of the year. So by then, we're also going to be putting adverts in or rather flighting ads in the large international publications like The Economist, etc., to start looking for providers of train sets, and start not just that, but also start helping them identify how to put together a concession agreement that's going to deliver this particular project. If I may, the Lagos, what they call Lamata, and the Lagos State Government invited bidders in 2008. 2009, I apologize, and they invited bids basically to basically design, build, finance, operate on a concession basis.
So you need the mic.
In some cases it was design, build, in some cases it was O&M, but what would happen in most cases, because some of the lines were compelling business opportunities because of the volumes of people that had to be transported, that the consortia opted for a full concession agreement on a design, build, finance, operate basis. So you find that is happening. Absolutely. So each line has a different operator and different train sets. Obviously, there are minimum specifications, output specifications that have been stipulated by Lamata and by the Lagos State Government. So they've got to meet certain requirements around what specifications have been identified. But I think when the bids were done, there were variant bids. There were others who kind of introduced different ideas of putting out a rail system, especially on the train sets. And the idea they're trying to mimic is really looking at what happened in New York with the metro in New York, except we're not going underground, we're staying over land. In fact, there's going to be a lot more bridges traversing, where you're going to have rail, almost running parallel to some of the major motorways or major highways you find in and out of the island, going north and west as well.
Doing business in Africa, you can't afford to be without Africa Investor.